eventually we got to get this thing going.
Yeah, eventually. You remember when the plan was to do the bro hangs afterwards? Like, and I was like, we should really do the bro hangs
that's right.
afterwards.
That's
And
right. No.
we've done that like twice.
Yeah. And instead, what we decided to do is talk for 45 minutes and then hit record and talk for another almost 2 hours.
Man.
And then take another break. So we're literally almost 4 hours into when we first jumped on.
Yeah.
And and we're just now starting to record the episode.
We have to get better at this.
By
yeah. We, I mean me. Not you.
I mean,
you're probably. I mean,
okay. Fair. The thing though,
you know what
is that we didn't
Josh?
talk last episode. We didn't talk 2 weeks ago. So
frankly, we probably ought to just like schedule like a weekly or bi-weekly call to just like get some of this crap out of our system.
Yeah,
we gotta just be like, dude, you got like an hour. Like, okay,
yeah, that's true. And then I wouldn't have to worry about like kids coming into the picture and stuff because they would totally, like, if they're awake, they would totally come over and just like stare at you and smile and wave and stuff. You know, like
I'd say put the earbuds in and I'll make fart noises at them. I go
noises. Love it. Oh my gosh. They would love that. And
I'm really good at fart noises right now because my 6-month-old, almost 7th-month-old loves them.
There you go.
Dude, it is. I make all sorts of weird sounds that I go. The one that he really likes, that it's like my default. As I go, ah, ja, 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 ah, ja, 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 ja. And he like always. Usually, that's good for a giggle or a grin.
Nice. That's awesome.
He's such a sweet baby.
That's good. I'm glad.
Yeah.
Awesome. I'm gonna start this. Oh, I don't know if you can hear that. It feels loud to me.
I get no respect. Nah, that don't include that. I mean, the brochachos can get that.
I get no respect.
I get no respect. I was gonna do a Rodney Dangerfield thing. Actually, Joshua, I was gonna say is like I have no respect for men who get on Twitter and say stupid things and then don't have the. That's not very nice. Let's retake that. I have no respect for you, Joshua.
RESPECT.
Find out what it means. Oh man, I had a bit earlier today, and then I was like, I've got a bit, and then we started talking, and whatever I had planned just went
gone
right out my ears, like just dribbled out my ears and ran away.
Make sure you wipe that up later.
Oh man, but you know what? Here, I got one. Hey Josh, how's it going, buddy?
It's going okay.
Okay. You know what? I'm feeling very Rodney Dangerfield-esque in the sense that people have no respect for me because I'm an adult man who plays video games.
That's true. I have no respect for you because you're an adult man.
I have no respect for me either. So that's why I do this. Apparently, I'm just full of self-loathing and no, but. Welcome to the Backlog Breakdown. Oh man, this is starting out we're on such a great note. I'm one of your hosts, Nate, alongside my friend and co-host, Josh.
Hey.
Oh boy. And that was a bit. It was not one of our best ones. I had a really good one earlier, but like my self-respect, it's just gone now. And you're like, why are they riffing on respect? Well, we'll get on that.
That's true.
At some point in time, there was a tweet that made the rounds on sort of Christian Twitter a little bit ago,
Mm-hmm.
and a
Mm-hmm.
lot of and yeah, I hate to say usual suspects, but like a lot of the crowd in Christian Twitter that happens to be video game enthusiasts got a hold of this, and I'd say more or less they were sort of like, and rightfully so, pretty indignant and had some
Mm-hmm.
pretty hard responses for this, but and I did interact with it at one point in time, and we will be
You
talking
did,
about
yeah.
that. It had some takes on masculinity and maturity
Mm-hmm.
and video games, and again, like we will get there, but like one of the key takeaways is that the author of this tweet, um, he just finds it really hard to respect men who play video games, and
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
yeah, that's and I think, to be fair, I think there were some valid criticisms and some
Sure.
interesting, like there was some validity to the tweet, and we'll go through that again. But overall, it was just one of those things that just kind of felt like meh. It was not.
Yeah.
Uh,
I hate this, so let's talk about it.
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
kidding.
yeah. Pretty much, that's kind of where we're at. No, it just feels like every time this comes up, it's always a good sort of opportunity for us to
Yeah.
like sort of have a bit of a refresher on a
Mm-hmm.
conversation that, in a lot of ways, you and I are still having.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and we've been having for, was it like almost 5 years at this point in time?
Something like that.
We're
Yeah.
getting up there. We're getting old,
Mm.
um, or
Mm.
older.
Don't remind me.
But that being said,
Mm-hmm.
before we sort of get down to that point,
Mm-hmm.
you know what, Josh? It has been, well, yeah, it's been an undisclosed amount of time since I talked to you.
Yes, that's true. It
I
has
botched
been.
that, but like, don't even edit it out in post. Just leave my
Leaving it
blunder
all in.
up. But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's been that time. It's been, I sat out last episode,
Mm-hmm.
the book club episode. It just, things I've just kind of been crazy lately. I had the
Yeah.
car stuff, and then just
Yeah.
uh which that has sort of been resolved, but
That's good.
yeah, we'll talk about me here in a little bit, but let's talk about your past fortnight. Well, actually, like your
All
past
right.
month.
Mm-hmm. Oh gosh, the month is too much. So usually we take this time to talk about something, high point or a low point, something like that over the past 2 weeks. And there was one single event that kind of overshadowed everything,
Hmm.
and it will, with no exaggeration, certainly be a a moment that I will remember for the rest of my life. And whether both negatively and positively, it has certain connotations. But anyways, I don't want to go too deep into it because that's not what this is about. This is just kind of catching up with each other a little bit. But I was called into a meeting last week in which I was informed that my position at the church that I work at was being cut and that I was being let go. So I am currently unemployed, which is kind of crazy. The whole job search thing, I haven't done it in like 15 years. So yeah, things are kind of weird right now. I will say I was assured that my position being cut was not due to my competency or my character. It didn't have anything to do with me, but it was simply that the position itself. You actually used this word when we were talking pre-show, was redundant, and
Mm.
that's a good way of putting it. That the pastor that I was reporting to, the discipleship pastor on staff, we did a lot of this similar things, and so it didn't make sense. And I understand why the decision was made. When you have to steward the funds of a church and you have these redundant positions, then that are two full-time positions, with benefits, it things have to be done. So that is the decision that was made, and I'm being taken care of by the church. They're being generous. So I don't. My wife and I attended on Sunday. Like, there's no animosity or anything like that. It was certainly, there's some weirdness just because of how it happened, but it's not. There's no animosity. We still love the church. I wasn't just there because of a paycheck. Like we're still committed to the church as long as we're there.
Yeah.
But also at the, beginning stages of a new job search, looking into ministry work. So we'll see what that looks like. We'll see how God leads us in the coming weeks and possibly months and whatever it looks like. So, well, we're fine. We're fine. It's weird. It's very weird. But we're doing fine, taking it a step at a time and just trying to discern where we're being led to. So,
Yeah. I know that when you and I talked a little bit, like
mhm.
it sucks, but
Yeah.
dude, I have to be really honest, and I think I even said this to you. I was like, you are handling this way better than I would be. And you know, I think, and you and I have had some conversations about it since
Mhm.
then. And it's just like, you know, I'm excited for you guys. I'm like I said,
Yeah.
and I'm still kind of bummed because it's
Yeah.
like it definitely it, it's like you said, it just like and I think like it's just yeah, I just you didn't see it coming, and it's
Right.
kind of like
Right. Yeah.
that's a but yeah,
Yeah.
I just
Yeah.
I do want to just sort of like give you kudos for just being a way cooler customer than I would be.
Well, I mean, I do appreciate that. And yes, like professionally, I did not see it coming. I do think the Lord has been good in that there have been some questions of well, how do I put this? Like I knew that I was not going to be at that church forever. Like based on moving in towards pastoral ministry, like the thought had occurred to me that it might not be at our current church forever
Yeah.
that we've been at, for the past 14 years. And in that case, like God has been working in me and even with conversations with me and my wife of like, okay, what would it look like to leave? Like, oh man, I don't, obviously you don't understand those circumstances, but it's like, oh, yeah, that would be heartbreaking. But it's a real possibility, that this may not be, we're not going to be here forever. So this just happened a lot faster and a lot more abruptly. And again, not that we've left the church. No, we're still there. We're still committed to that church so long as we're there. We're still
Yeah.
members there until we're shown, where our next place to be is. And in which case, I'm sure, we'll be talking about that here on the podcast as well. Yeah, I'm sure this whole process will be what I talk
Yeah.
about for the next while because that's where I'm at. And who knows? I was talking with Sam earlier today too. I was like, who knows? Like in a month or whatever, if I don't have anything, I might just get restless and go find a part-time job or something. I don't know. Um, I don't want to be
Yeah.
a total like I don't want to sit on the couch. Obviously, right now my job is to find a job. Okay, so I'm
Yeah.
working on that. But yeah, who knows? Who knows? I don't know. Like I said, haven't been in this place in a long time. So,
Yeah,
but
that's the tough part too, is like
mhm.
how long were you at the church?
So I was employed. It would have been 12 years next week on
Yeah.
staff.
Ooh.
So yeah, a good
That's like
a little over 10 years as the tech director, and then a little over a year as so I guess maybe a little longer than. Anyways, yeah, it would have
yeah.
been at
Oh
12 years.
man.
Yeah, which is crazy
Like
to think about.
that's like I was listening to something where they were talking about like modern dating. And I
Mhm.
just thought, like, sort of you ever think about it, like, if I had to start dating again today,
Oh my
and I
gosh,
was just like,
total crapshoot.
uh, like,
Thank the Lord that I was young and
but
just went
it's
for
like
it.
it's
Yeah.
kind of similar in the sense that like I've been at the post office for going on 8 years, and
Okay.
if I had to like search for another job, I'd just be
Mhm.
like, uh,
What?
what,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, well, I mean, obviously, you know. uh our thoughts and prayers with you guys,
Oh,
and
thank you.
and again,
Yeah.
like, I think, and even sort of in our conversation,
Hmm.
my conversation with you, it's like I think it's good, I think it's it's good the way that you're handling this, but also just the sort of like the reliance that you're experiencing, like, the
Mhm.
Lord. It's kind of like one of those things where you and I were talking, and it's sort of like you feel like in a lot of ways it's like a burn your ships kind of moment, and it really
Yeah.
did put into
Yeah.
clarity, like it
Mhm.
did clarify, like, no, I really want to pursue vocational ministry.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Definitely.
because it would be so easy to sort of like default to, like, I mean, I know for me, like, it's like, okay, what marketable skill do I have? Like that's
Mhm.
that's that's the
Mhm.
angle that I'm going.
Yeah.
Um and but you, like, you're thinking about it and you're like, nope, this is and I'm like, dude, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
pretty cool. And so, like, even though the circumstances suck, one, I think there's so much like good there. Like the fact that you
Yeah.
and Sam are still at the church, and that, like, like I mean, you and I have both probably sat on the sidelines for stories similar to this, where
Mhm.
it shipwrecks some people. And
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
anyways,
Yeah.
I want to say, like, we're thinking about you.
Well,
This
thank
is
you.
sort of me issuing a challenge to the breakdown community. Just be praying for Josh.
Hmm.
Keep him and Sam and the kids in their prayers as they
Mhm.
go through this. And God has been generous. The church has been generous with
Yeah.
Josh, and
Yeah.
they're taking care of them for a while. So it's like, yeah, it's cool. It's not like, oh, hey, like, don't have a job, sucks to be you, figure it
Mhm.
out kind of thing. It's been
No,
very,
yeah.
very
Yeah.
cool,
Mhm.
to
Yeah.
sort of see, like, God's provision for you guys.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Like even when it's hard, we're choosing to see this as an opportunity for sure, and already starting to see a little bit of that. Just a week into this, so yeah, and definitely we feel supported by pastors on
Mhm.
staff. I say pastors. I haven't had, and come to find out just earlier today of like I haven't had too much interaction with the rest of the staff over the past week, and frankly, that's mostly just because like they don't know, like it was so abrupt that a lot of people just don't feel like comfortable reaching out because they want to give me some space.
Yeah.
And it was helpful to hear that from someone because I'm like, oh, it feels weird to just like be disconnected. But
Yeah.
oh, that totally makes sense. Like because there are some people that would take this in a different way, and like that would be counterintuitive to hear from people, you know?
Yeah.
But anyways, that said, we feel very supported, even just in taking next steps. Like, oh, what does this look like? What does the job market look like? And here's some connections. Like here's some places to network. Here's some
Yeah.
places to search out. So yes, we feel, we feel really supported, even through this weird situation, even through a situation that I do not like. I would not have made
Yeah.
these decisions. I just mean from my perspective, but I understand
It's
why the
like if
decisions are made.
it's
But
like if you could have gotten it to play out a different way, you
right,
probably would have. Yeah.
yes, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
No.
But yeah, no, we're doing good. So thank you for your prayers. Yeah, well,
Yeah.
I'm sure I will be looking back on this in 6 months or whatever, and say that it's certainly for the best. It's just getting to that point
Mm.
when that's going to be like, okay, what is that? So
Yeah.
here we
No.
go.
I mean, yeah, dude. I mean, that's the yeah. No, it's in the moment when this kind of stuff happens, it is like, I'm just glad that you're even saying, like, hey, in 6 months, I'll probably, or maybe a year, whatever the time frame is, like,
Right,
I know that
right.
at some point in time I'm going to be able to look back at this and be like, oh no, I get it. Like, cool.
Mhm,
I'm kind of glad that happened. But like right
mhm,
now in the
right.
moment, it's like, no, it's not that time.
Right, right. Right now is to, put my
Yeah.
head down and figure some stuff out. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
man. Yeah. But we're doing, all things considered, we're doing good.
Good.
So how about you? How's your fortnight been?
Uh, well, I mean, the car stuff, we've kind of
Yeah.
got that settled for now. I think the plan is right now is the car from my sister is sort of just waiting for us. We were actually going to try and pick it up this last weekend, but it just didn't.
Okay.
Like, it's at my mom and dad's. We were out
Mhm.
there and we thought about bringing it home. but it was like sort of reconsidering. We're like, let's just. It just wasn't like we had him, we had Byron in the car, and it was like he's not a great traveler. He did fine for most of the trip, so it's not. It's just it was like and Megan wasn't 100%. I wasn't 100%,
Yeah.
and so. But so that one's sort of like we that's kind of like in our back pocket right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we're going to, like I said, trade in our other two on something else at some point in time. So now we've got to do, and dude, I just, Porcho and I were sort of like PMing a little bit back and forth, and he was asking about the car stuff, and I just said, and he said it, he beat me to the punch. But he was like, yeah, cars suck. And I was like, yeah, they do. They're kind of the worst. The worst. But no, things are pretty good. And I meant to share this with you when we were talking before, but like Megan and I have both like been like wrestling with some like low level anxiety.
Okay.
Coming up to June 15th, because there's always the possibility that Biomom is going to back out. Like, and it's like she's. Like I'm 99.999% sure she's not going to, but like that, like less than 1% is like the heaviest thing in the world sometimes.
Yeah,
because sometimes it just like swims up and bites you in the butt, and it's like this little boy that we have been like that, just the absolute love of our lives in so many ways. And it's just like that he's still not ours yet. It's just kind of hard. And it's like, that's like a part of like the process that like, it's kind of tough to navigate that stuff. So, I mean, but it's like, I mean, he's a sweetheart. The whole thing is just like been really good. Like he got some sugar today. He was at a birthday party, and he managed to get his fingers in some frosting, and then like his hands are always in his mouth anyways. So like they weren't like, they were trying to like stop him before he got, and he was like, nope, jammed in his mouth, and had a apparently, and I wasn't present for that. But Megan said he had a visible reaction to sugar. So I'm like, I don't know how I feel about this, but no, things have been going all right. I mean, at work, it's kind of like I'm at a point where it's like, in a lot of ways, things really haven't changed at work. It's like we're kind of, I've got some light days and I've got some heavy days, and it's like it does sort of feel like there's a little bit more balance there, and some of that is me and my attitude.
Gotcha.
But yeah, that's kind of like one of those things where I think for the time being, like I've really struggled as to what I'm going to do. As long as I can manage to get like a few, like close to 8-hour nights a week, I think I'm just going to stay on the overtime list for now, because the money is useful. We're gonna need to replace our hot water tank here soon. Like, so we've got a bunch of like stuff where it's like, if we can knock out some of that stuff, then like my thing is like, for now, if we can knock out some of these smaller things and maybe get like a leg up on the new vehicle, and we have to get a roof. It's like, so if we can get sort of like some of these things knocked out, then I'll think about taking some time, like scaling back. So we'll see. I don't know. I'm kind of, I kind of feel like I wish I would have just been like, no, I'm going on the 8-hour list and they can suck it. That's also not necessarily the best sort of perspective to have, or best attitude to have, period. So, but yeah, it's kind of like, we're going to continue to sort of like test the waters here. And if it just does, I think that's the other thing. If it just get to a point where it's like, it's too much for me to like, I do start really hitting some of that burnout and fatigue, I'll just go on the 8-hour list for a while. But yeah,
Hmm.
so there's that. I don't know. It's just kind of been like it's fine. There hasn't, like the cars really sucked farts.
Yeah.
But we also, we did, you know, like with Byron, there's so many like little moments that are such like sweet high points.
Hmm.
Like we had him in my parents' pool on Monday for a little bit, and he was loving the water. Like, he was just
Yeah.
floating around, just being like a cool little customer. He liked splashing. Once he figured out he could like take his little like, you know, pudgy little baby fist and smack the water and get a splash. Um, he was into that. So
Hmm.
it's just kind of like, I don't know, like things with Yuki. I don't know if I had shared this on a previous episode. Yuki managed to, I had to take her to the vet the other week.
Hmm.
Um, she's got like, she was like the one night I brought her in, and she had her left rear leg like locked up, would not put it
Yeah.
down on the ground.
Ugh.
So she's been on some anti-inflammatory stuff, and she's putting weight on the leg. She's still limping on it,
Okay.
and every once in a while she
Yeah.
limps on it pretty hard. Um, so I've got to follow up with the vet on it. But I
Hmm.
think if it's an option, we're just going to put her in a brace for a while.
Okay.
You can get like canine braces, and she's just going to be in a brace for a few months. Like we'll take
Hmm.
it off every once in a while so that she can like, you know, doesn't get too grody and stuff like that. But
Hmm.
like throughout, and that way she can get walks occasionally and stuff like that too. So,
Yeah.
um, but
Man.
yeah, my stupid dog. Because it's like the other option, if it is a cruciate injury, which is basically like the canine ACL, the other
Oof.
treatment is surgery, which is like
Yeah.
$3,000, and
Oof. Oh.
I don't have $3,000 right now to
Jeez.
spend on a dog. So
Yeah.
it's like, and she can walk on it, she can put weight on it.
Okay.
So it's like
Man.
the brace is just like a lot longer recovery. Like the surgery, it's
Yeah.
like, they go down, they stitch you up, and she's up and at it after a few weeks,
Hmm.
like a month and a half or whatever. This one, it's like she's in this brace. She'll be in this brace for like 3 weeks or 3
Yeah.
months.
Okay. Gotcha. Gotcha. Yeah.
Not 3 weeks, 3 months. But yeah, no, things are going pretty good, man. Like, you know, well, I mean, we might as well move on to our next form here. But
Ah.
I have been playing some things other than Destiny 2 and Marvel Snap. I
Okay.
still have not completely abandoned them. They
Hmm.
are my go-tos for now. For now.
Gotcha. Did you
They
finish Majora's Mask though? So that
no. Well, okay,
I'm
so let's
kidding.
touch
I'm
on that for
kidding.
a minute. Like, I listened to that episode, and you and I have had conversations about it, and I think like
Hmm.
overall where I just sort of fall is like Majora's Mask, as much as like I really love what it tried to do.
Hmm.
um I do think there's sort of like almost like I think when you and I were talking about it, like the word that we used was it's jarring,
Hmm.
how like kind of like dark it is, and how
Hmm.
almost like not grotesque, but just like kind of horrific it kind of is.
Yeah.
Like the Link shrieking in pain every time he puts a mask on kind of thing, it's like
Hmm.
that's not a little freakish and awkward. Um so there's that element, and I think overall, like I just really have struggled with just N64. Like going back to N64 games in general
Yeah.
has been
Yeah.
super difficult. Like, and I just when I was trying to play, I just was not having fun.
Hmm.
And as much
Hmm.
as I respect the intent, and as much as I still like cherish my original incomplete playthrough of that game,
Nearly complete.
like the
Yeah.
1%, like the one thing
Oh
I can't like want to
man.
go back in time and punch somebody. No, but like I still cherish it, and
Mhm.
I still, and I would probably like probably rank it higher than you. But at the same time, I'm like,
Okay.
it doesn't really hold up in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
And again, that's coming like that. I mean, take that for what it is too, because I also didn't finish it just because I was like, no, I'm not doing this.
Yeah.
So I threw myself at that game several times and I just
Mm-hmm.
could not get it. Like for whatever reason, it just was not gripping me. And so I kind of just was like,
Didn't hook you in?
it did not hook shot me in.
I mean, there's one in the game, but
There's one in the game, which makes it a better game than any game that does not have a hook shot.
Like the first Zelda?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, like the first Zelda gets a pass because it's the like.
Or Zelda 2.
Now I don't have strong feelings on Zelda 2. I mean,
Yeah.
that's another game that I have been just like that's one of those games that I've been meaning to go back to because we did that whole big episode on it and you and Wes and Paul all played it and you all beat it and I'm just like, nah, dog.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
Nate does not have time for this nonsense. But yeah.
Yeah.
So it was
Cool.
it was interesting. It was good to hear you guys sort of chop it up and talk about it. But it was like at the end of the day, I was just like, I really respect and admire what the game did, and in many ways, I like it. I
Mm-hmm.
like it a lot. I just also just it's like one of those games where I'm just like, I just couldn't go back to it. I was like, it just it was just too much. So.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. You like it, but I don't want to play it again.
Yeah. That's pretty much exactly it. Like I still like it. I just don't like it enough to ever play it again.
There you go.
It's not it's for me it's not a game that I revisit or even like at this point in time I don't even have a desire to revisit it.
Yeah.
So.
Gotcha. Cool,
man. Yeah. Well, let's talk about other things that we've been playing, reading, and watching, and all that other stuff. We have a form for that.
That's right. It's we do.
I see you have a list there. I appreciate you bringing that. It looks like a rather official kind of report there.
Very official. Very official. It's a backlog report. I have a
backlog report
list of things. No, actually, it's not too much for mine, but I'll highlight a few of the things. So this is a video game podcast, so let's talk about video games. What have I been playing? I've been playing Tears of the Kingdom, of course. I've been playing Tears of the Kingdom. It sucked me in. You know what? I had forgotten actually last episode that according to our backlog beatdown rules, I have to take a +1 for starting the game as well. Not just for purchasing, but also for starting. So that gives me a +1, bringing me down, up, I don't know, whatever, from -7 to -6. Okay. So because I've been playing Tears of the Kingdom and I'm really digging it. I feel like I've just barely scratched the surface and I'm probably at least a dozen hours in. I don't know, probably maybe more than that. But it is crazy how big this is. I will say, I mean, you know, if you want to learn about Tears of the Kingdom, listen to anything that video game places are saying at all, because everyone's talking about Tears of the Kingdom. Yeah, it's enormous. I will say, Nate, however, that this may not be what you want to hear. I think this game feels even less like a Zelda game than Breath of the Wild did. And that's primarily because some of the stuff that you could do in Breath of the Wild, you know, you always have like those bombs that you can throw and things like that kind of took over your the items that you kind of swap through in regular 3D Zelda games. And this one kind of does away with that in favor of these mechanics for sticking things together and going through walls and stuff like that, which is very fun. But it's just interesting to me. I'm enjoying my time with it. It hasn't quite hit Breath of the Wild level for me, although I'm still very early on in the grand scheme of things, and there's much more of a story in this one too. So it's got its good. It's a very good game.
Well, And it's interesting because, like, so friend of the show, Micah Gearsolid's also playing
Mm-hmm.
it, right? And he and I are pretty like we're kind of in sync in the sense that like we think Breath of the Wild is like a good game,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not really like
But it's also one of
our
the most overrated games of all time.
yes. Yeah. I mean, that's the nice way of saying it.
Mhm.
We have other things like Mike and I sneer and behind our hands and laugh at all of you plebes and like just how
that
brainwashed you
rate
all are.
it
No,
in their top 10
no,
like
um,
me.
no. But so he and I though we both kind of like we're more middling on like Breath of the Wild,
Yeah.
and he is
Yeah.
like, uh, he is like he is. I've been sort of asking about his playthrough on Tears.
Mhm.
Excuse me, gonna have to edit that out in post. Um, and he's like way more into this,
Mhm.
and
Nice.
so and even when we were sort of talking about it, like this is the thing, like it's not. And I may even still resent this game for not being like Zelda-y enough.
Mhm.
Like you know, I may. Um, but the fact that there have been people who have sort of like been like way more like openly critical of Breath of the Wild, and they're looking at this game and saying, "No, this is actually it.
Yeah.
This is the hotness."
Yeah.
And that to me means way more than like, and I'm not trying to
Yeah.
discredit like your opinion, but it's like I
Mhm.
knew you were gonna like Tears of the Kingdom, unless the game was
Right.
a
Oh,
total
of
like
course.
turd.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
you were gonna be into it.
Yes.
Like so when you're like I'm super into it, I'm like hypey say what?
Yeah.
Like like you know,
Mhm.
it's not a surprise, but like and that's all that being said, I'm glad that you're enjoying it.
Mhm.
I am way more curious about this game than I was prior to it coming out.
Yeah.
Like I was kind of like, how's this thing gonna do? And then when
Mhm.
it's like tied for the highest scoring game on OpenCritic, I think.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but so, anyways, like I'm just like I'm kind of like I'll get there eventually,
Yeah.
but I have other things like you know, and I'll get that to that in my report. There are other things
Yeah.
coming out imminently, that I
Mhm.
am significantly more interested in. But
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah. Yeah. No, in this one, my gosh, I'm sorry guys. I'm going to be talking about this for a long time because there's like no end in sight the way that how expansive this game is. And it forces you to kind of take it slow and think through things. Which I'm loving, but it's just like yeah, it's going to take me a very long time to finish this game. So, I'm very much enjoying that, and I've had a little extra time to do that as well,
yeah,
without as many engagements. But not that I'm spending all my time playing it, but I've had some good times where I just throw it up on the TV and play for a while instead of just on the elliptical. So good stuff there. That's what I've been playing. But I did pick up another game as well because it was on sale, and I'm kind of insane, but I went ahead and did it. Okay, I've actually got it right here, so patrons will see this video. I picked up Sakuna, I don't know, of Rice and
ooh,
Ruin. So there was a big old sale by
dude,
Xseed
that's a
Games.
big old honking fancy collector's edition.
Yeah, I got the Divine Edition because it has an art book, it has a CD, and stuff like that. I
Ah,
actually haven't taken it out of it. So I've got the Divine Edition on PS4, but I also picked up the regular edition on Switch for $20 because I wanted all the extras from the Divine Edition. And so I'm just gonna turn around and sell the PS4 version, like the disc
mm,
that's in here, and keep all the Divine Edition goodies, all the art book and all that stuff because like it was so cheap, 20 for Switch, 30 for that PS4. If I can
hmm,
make $25 from a brand new sealed copy, like then I'll have paid,
yeah,
25 for the Divine Edition. So anyways, that was my thought process behind that because they didn't have the Divine Edition on Switch um, up for sale. So that's what I did there. Picked those up because the artwork on this looks really good. So I wanted the art book. But
No,
yeah.
I have it on PlayStation, and I started it, and it does sort of like start out a little slow,
Yeah.
but I've heard it's like one of those games that if you put the time into it, it's
Mhm.
really rewarding.
Nice.
Um,
So
it's like it's so yeah, man, that's cool. And the bits and pieces that I did play, I did enjoy. So
awesome.
like
Awesome.
it just, but like I definitely feel like it's like kind of like yeah, it didn't sort of come out swinging right out the gate.
Yeah. Yeah. And it might not blow you away. That's fine.
Yeah.
But it seems to I like that combination of different things, sort of like that Rune Factory kind of idea. And I know it's not quite that, but the combination of farming along with
Mm-hmm.
some side scrolling action that sort of reminds me of like Muramasa is what it looks like. Could be totally off base there, but
No, it's
just some
definitely got
ideas.
like sort of that Vanillaware vibe.
Hmm. Hmm.
Like it's
Yeah.
Vanillaware adjacent.
Yeah.
Who is the they are it is it ugh. Is
Xseed
it
was the publisher because that was the sale that was
yeah.
going on Amazon, but is for Marvelous and
Okay.
Edelweiss. Edelweiss. I don't know who Edelweiss is, but Marvelous worked on it. So, anyways, yeah. So that brings me up to another +1. So I'm at -5 for the year so far, which kind of stinks because I was like at 7 for quite a while and not being able to break it. Now just going back up to -5. Anyways, that's where I'm at with that. Reading, I'm still finishing up The Mortification of Sin, the translation by Aaron Wren, and man, it's so good. Like I would highly recommend anyone listening go
Go check
and
that
read.
out.
Yeah, go check out the book because I mean it's what I've said earlier, but even just this full orbed idea of sin in your life, and it's your it's your Christian duty to root it out in your life. But the way that you do that, and what I love about this book is the way that you do that is by surrendering it to the Lord, is like living in light, living every moment in light of your relationship to God, like as like me as a son of God, like recognizing, oh man, he loves so much and he has given so much to wash me clean of this sin. Like, why would I not, like constantly be at war to take it out and then relying on his strength in order to do that. Like it's so good. So it's, even though it is practical, even though it hurts to read sometimes, it's convicting. Like, oh yeah, I don't try as hard as I ought to kill the sin in my life. But it's like calling me to that, it's like a, come on,
Yeah.
it's an encouragement uh to do that. So really good stuff. Almost done with it, but I often like read a short chapter and then I'm like, okay, I need to go like think about this and apply it
Mm-hmm.
instead of, I want to just bust through it. But anyways, great book, highly recommended, tiny little thing. So go check it out. The last thing is something that my wife and I watched. It's a TV show that was way better than we expected. It's called Jury Duty. We watched it through Amazon Prime Video, but it's like Freevee is what it's through, so you get some
Mm-hmm.
ads in there. So the conceit of this show is that there's these people, obviously it's called Jury Duty. The whole thing is a setup. Everyone in the jury and in the courtroom is an actor except for one person. So it's this whole 8-episode series where just crazy stuff is happening throughout this whole court case, and the jurors are being crazy and all kinds of wackiness is happening. And there's like one person who doesn't know, who thinks it's all real. Obviously everyone else are actors. And it is hilarious. I will say there is some um adult comedy in bits. Like, okay, so I watched it with my wife, so it's not a big deal. Like, but there were some moments, like, I wouldn't necessarily watch it around kids. It's not terrible. There are some, raunchy moments, if that makes sense,
Mm-hmm.
that come and go. But because it's all fake, it's like it's not actually. Does that make sense? Like
Mm-hmm.
it's so ridiculous, some of the stuff that happens, but because like it's all acted out, it's not really happening. It didn't feel like as big of a deal, if that
Mm-hmm.
makes sense. So
My question there though
mm-hmm,
is, I guess I kind of look at so the person who isn't an actor,
mm-hmm.
please tell me that they are compensated well for their time.
Oh yes, yeah. Okay, so the last episode, the entire last episode is where he is told what happened, and then they walk through like a bunch of different. They show him around to everything, and so it actually ends on a very positive note. Like often those kinds of shows can be very like, oh, like sucks to be you, like look at how much of an idiot you
Yeah, like
were,
mean
whereas this is the
spirited.
opposite. Yes, mean spirit, yes.
Yeah.
This is the opposite of that, where it's actually very uplifting and like, check out, like we saw you do these like you didn't have to act this way, and like you actually given these parameters, like you acted very honorably, which is really cool, and they award him $100,000. So
Whoa.
yes.
I
Hmm.
want in on that.
Right, yeah, I will do jury duty for 100K.
Yeah.
Money
That's
please.
that's pretty well. Like there's so many questions that arise out of this. So is
Hmm.
this like American TV?
Yeah. Yep.
How
I have
I'm
so many questions.
so many questions because like jury duty, that's like you're allowed to be absent from work for
Hmm.
jury duty.
Hmm.
So like they would have to go to this guy's employer
Hmm.
and like basically like, yeah, we defrauded you out of this time.
So no, so it goes into this like later. You find out the way that it happened is it was originally a Craigslist ad, which already you'd think that would be a red flag. It was a Craigslist ad for people who would sign up for jury duty, like they would be the ones signing up, and because they are shooting a documentary about jury duty.
Okay.
So there are cameras in the courtroom. Now they're hidden all throughout the court, like where they are, but there are actual, like cameras that they see, and they know they are being filmed, because they had responded to a Craigslist ad in order
Yeah,
to sign up for it.
but even there, it's like this stuff with
Mhm.
like
Yeah, it
the,
takes
the
it ends up taking a long time too. Like I think over 2 weeks. It's crazy.
yeah, it's like
Yeah.
jury duty. You can be out for a while with
Yeah.
anyway. Oh man, that's wild.
Yeah.
That's weird. Have you
It's
ever been called for jury duty?
I have been called a few times. I have never actually made it. The last one that I was signed up for, that I thought I made it into like the third round of people being picked. It was actually kind of a high profile case here.
Mm-hmm.
It was actually pretty gross. It was a doctor at a like basically a psychiatric hospital that had been abusing kids.
Mm.
So it was so like jurors were dropping left and right because of like either previous experiences or different things. So I think what got me taken off the list, because I went in, I think 3 days of just like culling through the
Yeah,
people
yeah,
that
yeah.
were called. I think it was 3 days. I think what got me kicked off was that I said that I was a Christian, because I was specifically asked by the defense if I if I had found out, if there was anything, if I had found out that it was if there was any homosexual acts that were committed, if I would think any differently. And I had actually said no, that I wouldn't, because the subject matter was abusing children. So no, whether that was
It's not
heterosexual or homosexual, like that doesn't make, like both
yeah, I
are
mean
still
they're
heinous,
both equally vile.
Right,
Like
exactly.
it's
Yeah.
like the yeah.
But to even like ask me that question, I was thinking that the defense was trying to get me off of the jury list, just because I said that I was a Christian, and so I think they were thinking that it would be harder for me to be unbiased.
Well, I
That's
mean,
all.
it would be hard for me to be unbiased about like let's be honest. Like I want so badly to believe in like sort of guilty until proven innocent, but like
Innocent until proven guilty.
yeah. Yeah, that one. No, yes.
Yeah.
I want to believe so, like, but
Mhm.
like in that sort of scenario, it would be very difficult. It would be the other way.
Mhm.
Like it'd be like your defense attorney is going to have to work real hard.
Mhm.
Like, and that's not a fair trial. So like I would just have flat out told them like, listen, I've got to be honest. I have no tolerance for like sexual deviance and
Mhm.
sex sex abuse, like child abusers,
Yeah.
like, and if he did this and it became evident in throughout the case, like the court case,
Mhm.
I would, yes, I would be very unfavorably, like, I'm not gonna say
Mhm.
like yeah, it would probably, you probably need to work a lot harder to convince me,
Yeah. Yeah, I
but
mean, I don't know. It was interesting because for those days they were laying out definitions of different things, and how you would go about and being unbiased. And so in this certain case, like it was at a psychiatric hospital, um could you possibly consider that these are children who have mental issues, and would they make something up against the people who are taking care of them? I but I could see a situation
yeah,
where that would happen. Yeah.
yeah,
So I was trying to come at it as unbiased. Now, found out, a few weeks later, obviously after I wasn't picked, he was convicted. So it was gross. So I'm glad I didn't have to put myself through that
yeah,
and learn any of the
that would
details,
be tough.
because I didn't. Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
But
that show
anyways,
sounds, that show
yes.
sounds
Sorry,
much more
totally different.
delightful than the actual
Yes.
sort of
Yeah.
almost horrific real jury duty that you had to
Right.
do.
Right. Yeah.
But
But I've never been picked, so I've never actually gone through all of jury duty.
yeah.
But anyways, so that's what I have to report on. What do you have?
Well, I'll sort of move in a almost opposite-ish direction. I'll talk about the things that we've been watching.
Okay.
Megan started watching The Crown on Netflix.
Okay.
Um, it's interesting,
Mm-hmm.
and it's one of those things that like, and
Is it
again,
about
you don't know.
teeth?
It's speculative historical fiction in the sense
Okay.
that like it's kind of like it's written with sort of, I think, an ear towards reality in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's talking about like the royal family in
Mm-hmm.
Britain, and just even some of the context and everything there is like, um, and it's like, it's just interesting because it's,
Mm-hmm.
in a lot of ways, all history is storytelling. That like a
Mm-hmm.
lot of history, like the best history, what's the Carlin, hardcore history.
Oh yes.
What is his? It's not George Carlin. It's
I should know, but
Dan
it's
Carlin.
been there. You
Dan
go.
Carlin's hardcore history is awesome because the dude's just a really gifted storyteller.
Mm-hmm.
It's like that's why you can listen to 6-hour long episodes on the Peloponnesian War.
Yeah.
Um, so it's just been kind of interesting because, and again, it's sort of that like kind of like they're putting a little bit of a, like, they're sort of like cracking open the reality of some of this, and like some of it again is speculative in the sense that like there's a lot of stuff that the family, there is a lot of investigation and research in sort of building this, but there's a lot of stuff
Mm-hmm.
that the royal family just won't disclose, like this is
Sure.
what actually happened, this is what didn't. um Especially there's a lot of like scenes behind closed doors and stuff where it's just like, and it's just interesting. It's interesting. It just sort of like, and it's kind of like some of these characters, like Charles in this, is in some ways a very sympathetic character.
Okay.
Just because, frankly, his mom kind of sucked. Like, at least in this show, like, and from what I understand, Queen Elizabeth was a little frosty at times.
Okay.
And I mean, but like, that's the other thing is like, there's this weird tension between, like, this woman's the Queen of England, so she's the head of the English state, right? At
Mhm.
the same time, she's like supposed to be a mother and a wife, and that's just like that's not an easy burden to shoulder,
Mhm.
and it's kind of like it's just kind of like it's just hard to like deal with and to watch all that. You know what I'm saying? Like, where it's just kind of
Yeah.
like, man, it's
Yeah.
like you just see like what some of these things do to the people's lives around them, and to even understand like the fact that, like, frankly, Elizabeth should have never been the queen, because like
Mhm.
the entire process was like her father. The only reason he became king is because his older brother um, gave up the throne so they could marry this woman who, according to the actual show, like Prince David or whatever, he was not a very nice dude, as far as I'm concerned, and his wife was a bit of a harpy. Um,
Hmm.
like,
Fun.
two very unpleasant individuals, and so it's probably for the best that neither one of them was in charge of anything,
Mhm.
including a wet paper sack. Um, but again, it's like it's all fiction and stuff like that. But like, it's kind of interesting. It's like sort of that
Mhm.
thing that's like, I don't really care about this, but then when you turn on the episode, I'm like, oh, this is fascinating. Like, because like, some of it is grounded in reality,
Mhm.
is grounded in truth. So, we've been watching that. Of course, still watching Ted Lasso, and
'Kay.
what I will say is that there are some character arcs that I really love, like really and
Mhm.
truly love. You watched the first season, right?
Yeah, I watched the first 2 seasons. Mhm.
So Jamie's character arc
Mhm.
has been one of my favorite things.
Okay.
I'm really coming around on that dude. Like,
Okay. I'm sorry. I was thinking of the female. I don't remember her name.
Keely,
Yes, Keely. Keely. Sorry, you said Jamie, and for some reason yes. No, Jamie. Yes. Yes, of course. I know who Jamie is.
his like, and even her arc in this third season
Mhm.
has been interesting. Her and
Okay.
Roy and Jamie and all of that has been at times really heartwarming. Like this last
Okay.
episode, that
Hmm.
so by the time of this recording, there's a new episode
Mhm.
like that I haven't seen yet. But the one prior to that, there was a really heartwarming exchange between the three of them, and just like a moment in that last episode where I was like, that's really sweet. That's
Okay.
really good. And it's like, so yeah, there's just some like, and that's, I think the way that I sort of looked at it was like, and I think you and I sort of talked about it, is that the first two seasons sort of, in a lot of ways, they could be a little more narratively punchy and have some like you know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Whereas this third season is sort of like the stage has been set, you sort of know the pieces, and you're sort of seeing everything, so like they're tying up all the threads.
Hmm.
Nate Shelley's arc also much gooder. Much gooder.
Really? Really?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Yes. It yes. Yes.
Hmm.
I'm just saying, like, this third season is really like selling me on it. Like, it's one of those things that like
Interesting.
it's harder to get into, but it really does feel like they're sort of tying up a lot of the loose ends, and
Hmm.
they're like, I'm still like, are they going to land the plane? Are they
Mhm.
going to poop the bed? I don't know, but
Yeah.
I'm really, this last episode especially, I was like, okay, Like, kind of just left me
Interesting.
going like, okay, like a happy okay. So
Interesting. I have not heard good things, so I'm really surprised.
dude,
So
whoever's
that's
saying
good to know.
bad things, like they're just tell them to quit being a wet blanket. Like, be like, listen, I have a friend
There were
who's
some signs in the second season that like the writing was
well,
just not as good. So
but I think like that's the thing is like the first season can sort of exist as self-contained, and we've had this.
Mhm.
We've sort of had this kind.
Right, yeah.
Second
Yeah.
season is sort of laying the stage, and so there's a lot more sort of like there's a lot of stuff that just sort of gets like ripped out, and it's like where they could have played with that. And Paul and I, when we talked about, there are 2 episodes in
Mhm.
the second season that probably shouldn't be there.
Yeah.
I disagree with
Yep.
him. I think there's 1 episode that shouldn't be there. I
Okay.
actually really like the other one.
Okay.
I really like the Christmas episode. Paul doesn't
Gotcha.
really care for it,
Mhm.
and the episode about Beard's wild night out on town was just it's why is that
Yes.
even there?
100%. Yeah.
Also, Beard,
Mhm.
it's just a moment. There's like a 5-10 minute speech. He confronts someone and he sort of exposes like he basically tells how he and Ted met.
Okay.
And like he shares their history, and it completely like, and this is going to sound really dumb, completely recontextualizes the character. Like
Hmm.
then you're like, oh, this makes sense. Not
Hmm.
100%. This last episode, these last couple of episodes, dude, I'm telling you, like they're doing a really good job of sort of like setting this thing up. Like where they actually land the plane
Mhm.
is going to be like the but where we're at so far in it, I'm into it. Like I'm
Okay. Yeah.
into where they're going with this, and I'm really enjoying the romp. Um,
Cool.
as far as books, so and again, Paul, friend of the show, the artist currently known as Techno Funk Boy. There's a
Mhm.
podcast that you, me, him, and Wes all sort of like delight in.
Yes.
372 pages.
Yes.
There's a book that 372 pages is reading right now. It's called Artemis.
Mhm.
It's written by a guy named Andy Weir.
Mhm.
He's the guy who wrote The Martian.
Mhm.
And so I was like, I have an Audible credit. Let me listen to this delightful little train wreck.
Mhm.
Oh boy.
Train wreck it is.
Ooh. Like, and here's the thing is like, so I read this and now I want to go back and I want to read The Martian because he wrote
Mhm.
that.
Mhm. Yeah.
And I want to sort of go over The Martian with a bit of a fine tooth comb because
Mhm.
based off of what I've listened to the book in its entirety.
Mhm.
It is stupid. What I will say is that I think it is in some ways better than Klein,
Okay.
in other
Okay.
ways significantly worse.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so it's
So you
one of those.
highly recommend this book,
Oh,
Artemis by Andy Weir.
it gets a lot of like. There were several times where I had to stop listening to it just because I was rolling my eyes so hard. I was like, "Come on, dude!
Just
Like,
giving myself a headache from
like,
my eyes rolling back in their
come
sockets.
on."
Uh,
So yeah, and it's kind of hilarious because I'm just like, oh, like you know what the biggest thing like that I was the biggest similarity that Andy Weir and Ernest Klein share is
probably a
neither
variety of 80s dance moves.
that, um, yes, also, but the biggest similarity, the biggest thing that they have in common is that they completely lack any self awareness.
Yeah.
Like at no at no point in time did they just recognize that their narrative voice is absolutely bankrupt.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
that it's vacuous, and that what they're really doing is writing. Anyway,
And that every character is the same.
and every
They're
character is sort of a weird
a
version of them.
snarky, yeah. Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
yeah,
That
and even
I
the
I
ones
just
that
love
are
that.
really different are really
Mhm.
just sort of ways that you think of yourself. And even though you're a middle-aged white dude, and you're writing a 20-something Saudi Arabian woman, the way you're writing her is via you. Now, like, she's not a character that possesses her own stuff. She's just kind of like, she's got your nasty little fingerprints all over her.
Lovely.
And yeah, but it's just kind of like one of those things where it's like, definitely laughed at that book several times.
Yeah.
And then did a lot of eye rolling. So the only reason I listen to it is so that when the dudes are ripping it apart in 372, I know exactly what they're talking about.
Yeah, fair.
But in addition, like, so as sort of there's a guy I follow on Twitter. He's he's a journalist. He either works with the Times or Washington Post. It's not Gene Park. His name is Paul Tassi, and he writes a lot about Destiny 2. And he was writing about Marvel Snap for a while too. And that's sort of where I came across him. But he wrote some science fiction. And the book is called, I'm going to just double check here. I'm pretty sure it's called The Last Exodus. Yeah. And it's pretty decent sci-fi. The premise is like, so far, it's just like, I mean, it's corny, but it's like not Klein or Andy Weir corny.
Okay. Yeah.
Like it's kind of like, I don't know. I'm enjoying it so far, but I'm still fairly early on in the book, so I'm withholding like total judgment. Like, so maybe next episode I'll come be like, nah, Last Exodus is like a bag full of wet farts. Just avoid it. But so far I'm like, okay, this is kind of cool. It's got a much better like narrative tone, in my opinion. Like, that being said, it's not like blowing my mind. It's not like, this is not Asimov. This is not.
Yeah.
But there's only one Asimov, and there's only one Ray Bradbury, and like some of my anyways, there's only one Orson Scott Card, and like anyways, but it's been enjoyable. Like, it's like, again, it's not like gonna blow your mind, but I think it's enjoyable. As far as what I've been playing, so obviously Destiny 2, still playing Marvel Snap. I have been playing like some other things. I've been dabbling around with like some Game Pass. I played some Hi-Fi Rush, played some
nice.
The original Halo on the Master Chief Collection. Just kind of like screwing around, dinking around here. But there's one that sort of like caught me, and I think I'm going to see it through the end, but it says like kind of like indie gem, and I think it's available on multiple platforms, but it's called Unpacking. I think it came out last year. I at least know that that's when I picked it up. But it is kind of like the entire premise is like you're unpacking these boxes and putting the stuff away, which sounds like super dumb, but we've talked about it, like the power washing simulator, like Harvest Moon. Like, it's like, these are chores. These are things that you do not actually enjoy doing in real life, but somehow you do them in the video game. It's like, this is rad. And it also has like a very Tetris-y vibe, but it's like, I was also telling you that there's kind of like, what's kind of like cool about it though too, is that these boxes that you're unpacking and sort of like putting this stuff away, like, you're doing it through different stages in this person's life. And so you're sort of, you're seeing some relationships, and you're seeing like, you start out in their childhood bedroom, and then you move to like their college dorm, and you sort of like, and then like their first apartment, and then the first apartment that they share with someone, and it's kind of like all this stuff. That's like, it's really cool and cute and clever, and it's super cozy. Like, and it's got like cool music, and the gameplay is kind of fun, and I'm really enjoying it. I'm almost done with it, and I'm just kind of like, man, I really like the game. So Unpacking is rad. That being said, it's time to sort of like talk about my backlog score a little bit. I haven't beaten anything. However, I did use the very last little bit of my remaining tip money from last last December. Like, so I had like a
Mm.
couple gift cards and I had some birthday money, and I pulled the trigger on Diablo 4.
Ah, you did it.
I
Nice.
did. I'm a sucker, which is going to make things really interesting because I also got Season of the Deep in Destiny 2 to sort of chew through. Yeah, so, and snap. We're going to see. We're going to see. It might just be too much. I just talked to you about like, I think I need to like maybe step back for a little bit. And I'm like, no, I can't. I've
But
set
I've got so
myself up for
much.
disaster. No, but we'll see. Like, I don't know what my cadence is going to be with Diablo 4 yet, but I was talking with somebody about it, and I said like I'm going to try really hard to not let it sort of like drown everything out.
Yeah.
So we'll see. But yeah, so yeah, that puts me at positive 3, which
Okay.
I'm like, not. Yeah, I'm not negative at all. So you
Mhm.
take your -5 and shove it, pal. But that being said, it's time to talk about, of course, GG, which is the official app of the Backlog Beatdown. And if you
Yeah, it
don't know what
is.
GG is, it's a letterbox style app for your video game collection. You
Mm.
can create custom lists, you can rate review titles, you can see what your friends are playing. There's a whole bevy of sort of tools that's available, but also that is kind of being added to. Our buddy Charles Watson, he started developing this years ago, and he's really done just, I mean, from where it started to where it is now is just a massive step. But in addition to that, he's always sort of iterating, he's always sort of improving. And if you're in it, like, I recommend checking it out. There's a free 99 version, so go check it out for free. And if you like what he's
Mhm.
doing there, you can pay him $5 a month or $50 a year to get access to the elite tier. And the elite tier, you get early access to builds, you get a little more access to Charles, and it's just overall like it's I think it's worth it. We're both paying members there. We both, and that's it's not just because Charles is our friend, he is, but it's a good product, and we think it deserves your time and attention.
Mhm.
That being said, other things that deserve your time, attention, and perhaps your money it's this podcast. And if you're already listening, we have some of your time and we have some of your attention. Now just give us that money. Money, please. No, seriously. The way that we want to pitch this is like, listen, if you have done the rating and reviewing, if you've done the sharing and the caring, and you want a way to go a little bit above and beyond, we do have a Patreon, and we want you to think
Mhm.
of it as a bit of a tip jar, but it's a tip jar with benefits. So our patrons, each and every one of them gets to nominate a game or topic for us to talk about on an episode, and the offer at that point in time is also for them to come on and sort of chew the fat about that with us. They also get early and uncut access to each and every one of our episodes. That early and uncut access is also available in video format, so if you ever wanted to see what Josh and I look like, if like one, you could just go to social media. You could do that. You could
It's true.
also
Yeah,
see me
that
in
works.
my various states of disheveledness, and you could watch us just
Mm.
fall asleep as we talk to each other because we do this super late at night, and neither one of us is really good at brevity. We're really good at
Mhm.
being bad at brevity, but
That's yeah,
that's the
that one.
thing. But
That one.
again, so there's the early and uncut access, but like also patrons have a little more access just to us. They get special roles in our Discord server, and we like them more because, well, frankly, they pay us to like them, and they're awesome.
Best kind of friendship.
Best kind of friendship, the ones that pay us, they give you money. Um, Lastly, but not leastly, we would be remiss if we didn't mention the fact that we are proud. Yeah, I'd say I'm glad and proud to
Mhm.
be a member of the Playwell Network. I think I can say the same for Josh.
Yes.
Alongside our friends Wesley Ray, the Henshin Dad himself, and Paul, the artist currently known as the Techno Funk Boy Lytle. Both of these guys, we like their approach to content, and just like the we like what they do, and we think that you guys ought to check it out. Wes has a couple of podcasts, obviously the Henshin Dad podcast. So
Mm-hmm.
podcast about tokusatsu. So you like dudes in rubber suits and fake, like basically Japanese version of wrestling. Yeah, it's kind of like what tokusatsu is, and I'm there for it sometimes, more often than not. He also
Do
does
it.
Retronym, which is a sort of a nostalgia, retro-ish adjacent video game podcast, and he's done a whole bunch of stuff there. What was his most recent one? Was it
Was it
not,
Mega Man X?
was it Mega Man
Was
X?
that
I thought
the
it was
latest one, or did he? No, it was Twilight Princess.
Twilight
That's right.
Princess.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, and he does like takes on this, and he sort of talks about like his personal history with this stuff. It's it's kind of short form. It's
Mm-hmm.
like usually like maybe 15, 20 minutes. It's always a good time. Paul, on the other hand, does a ton of actual play
Yes.
podcasts.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, it's
Mm-hmm.
actual play. That's how I remember that. That's like my little like brain
Mnemonic device. Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, it's and so he's got a couple of those. Technically, this one isn't a it's not a Play Well Network show, but it is the only actual play podcast I listen to with consistency. He's part of Dyson Drury. I recommend it. I enjoy it.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's the only one I listen to. He's starting up one called The Thorns of War, which is a Dragonlance. It's a Dragonlance podcast.
Yeah.
He's got the Rusty Speeder and a few others. He's also got some older sort of like retro video game, also nostalgia podcasty stuff, but it's much longer form. He's got the Retro Zoo Super Show and then the Retro Station, both of which, you know, I think Josh and I both did some guest appearances on probably each one of those runs.
Yeah.
We did some together, and I think we did some separately, maybe. But maybe. I could be wrong.
I think so.
The only way you'll know if I was wrong is if you actually go back and listen to all of them.
Boom.
So
do it.
Go do that thing. That being said, you know, like I said, we like those guys. We think you should check some of their stuff out. And here's a word from one of them.
All right. Words from them. I'm going to stop it